Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Educational ED Podcast. We're kicking off 2025 with a great guest, and we'll be right back with that guest as soon as we give our sponsorship shout outs. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. Take the next 3 minutes, listen to these. They're all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take those 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these companies. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards for their support. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Um, your kids are on social media, so are a lot of your parents. And if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Whether it's a social media post celebrating a big win or an entire newsletter showing your stakeholders all the great things you do, the team at Gipper is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. Their athlete eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com. Find out all the great things they can do to help you in your program. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Join the 8 million users. Go to huddle.com. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, the Hometown team is here to help you make the best online ticketing solutions. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant AD did, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get started, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and hopefully take care of them. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that type of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or student athlete, or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to another year of the Educational AD podcast. We're kicking off 2025 with a very good friend, and we're also going international. Our guest today is Jason Cuthbert. Jason is a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at the American School of Warsaw. Has a tremendous journey. He's going to share some of that with us as an athletic director. He and I met, I'm just going to say, a few years ago, actually, our state conference here in Florida. He was down, taking some courses, and, we've maintained, I think, a friendship over those years. And we're very excited to have him on to share his journey with all of you. So, Jason Cuthbert, welcome to the Educational AD podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you interrupting your holiday. Again, this is our first episode of 2025. We're recording it very close to the new year. So let's go and jump right into it. Jason, we like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Jason Cuthbert origin story?
Well, I was born southwest of Toronto, in the area, Tri-City area, city of Guelph. I'm born and raised, and my parents still, well, my mother still lives here. I played, all my youth sports here. Grew up playing. This is quite a big hockey hotbed, and we're just outside of Toronto, and grew up. Primary first sport was playing hockey, and played what we call AAA here, high level, up until I was about 16. But I was always kind of entrenched with playing both hockey, basketball, and American football. And by the time I was in high school, I really developed a love for basketball. And at that time in the 80s, basketball was really a growing sport in Canada. It's not at the level as it was back then. I think the players were still at the same level, I think the internet has really changed. We have a lot of great basketball players here in the country, especially in this area. I'm from the same Tri-City area as produced Jamal Murray and Nalia Chawa, who played in the WNBA. And so, I grew up, probably my passion was with basketball, and I was very fortunate. I wasn't a great student, and I had a great high school coach and Terry Upshaw, who helped me a lot. And there was a guy in our community named Steve Cuevas who, he was doing a lot of basketball stuff. And he really now, there's so many of these personal trainers, which he is now. But when I met him, he just saw a kid that really loved playing basketball and really helped me not only with the game, but also helped me with life. And really was fortunate. And during that time, playing basketball, I was fortunate. I picked up the phone and tried to get to a basketball camp in the U.S. at the University of Kentucky while they were on probation. And the guy on the phone directed me to a coach named Don Lane, who was the head coach at Transylvania University. And I was able to go down and play a few summers at his camp and cage coat high potential. And it was great because I was able to get out of where I live, and I met a bunch of kids from all over the southeastern part of the United States, and really opened my eyes of there's an opportunity to go to university. And finished high school playing both hockey, basketball, and football. And I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to play at Durham College, and played some years basketball there. And not only helped me with athletics, but also helped me with life. Kind of changed my life around of how I looked at academics. And then went to a 4-year school and played a little football, and actually got hurt. And back then there was no studies of concussions, and I really had a horrible concussion where it took all the strength out of me. At 2 weeks I had no physical strength. I knew there was something wrong. And it was interesting that I had a football coach at the time. His wife worked at the business office, and she mentioned to me, hey, there's these schools coming from Mexico. Would you be interested? And to kind of segue into a story, when I was at university, I had an opportunity to work 2 summers in Mexico with poor people in the state of Morelos and Guerrero, and um, gave me an opportunity to really see the world. And I really had not traveled in my life, and came back with really some humble, being humbled with how poor people were down there, and really how much I have in life. And interesting enough, he and my coach Blake Neal and his wife Maura, they helped me with my interview. I really had to develop some interview skills, and I was able to actually get a job down there. And ironically, I ended up playing university football at Tech de Monterrey, American football. And my first teaching job, I'm playing university football and teaching kindergarten. So it was quite a unique experience, and really was life changing in the trajectory of where I am today.
I want to dive into that later on. And again, for our listeners, Jason has a tremendous a journey to share with us. I want to go all the way back to, when you're growing up. Now, Toronto, obviously it's in the north and it's cold, all that stuff. Playing hockey, that's a no-brainer. I mean, there's ice in the streets and the driveway. How did you find basketball? It's not like you could put a hoop up in your driveway in the middle of winter and start shooting hoops on the ice. How'd you manage to find a gym?
Ironically, I had a cousin that played at the University of Guelph, and I was just he was a big role model in my life and just drawn. And at that time, Steve Cuevas was playing at the University of Guelph, and he was just finishing off, and he was really a charismatic guy. And Terry, who I mentioned earlier, he also played with my cousin, so I was lucky to meet those gentlemen, and really they took an interest in me, just in the my passion for the game. And I learned a lot of great athletic principles from my father. My father was a blue collar man, factory guy, but my dad was an extreme fitness guy. He was beyond his years in regards to fitness. He was doing yoga in the 70s. He lifted weights beyond his years. He was incredible, and so I learned a lot of good athletic, discipline. And I think those guys saw I was in the gym all the time. Back then they called it a gym rat. Was in the gym all the time, trying to develop my game, and I just needed some direction. And truly, I needed a little bit of direction with my education as well. And those guys were phenomenal people in my life.
Now, again, you can hear the love that you had for your coaches, your dad, and the people that you played with. I think as kids, we grow up and we love sports, we love playing, we love competing, but not always are we looking ahead. Well, hey, maybe I could be a coach or something like that. Was that something that you thought about back in those days that, hey, maybe I could be a coach, or were you just, playing the game and loving it?
I was just playing the game and loving it. One of the things I do remember though is just here's a guy that never gave the guy a dime for all the time that he spent with me. But I always felt like I needed to give back, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. I thought at times I'd be a police officer. Sometimes I thought I'd be a social worker. But to be honest, at that time of my life, I really had no, life goals or direction. I just had a lot of passion for the things that I was doing at the time.
Again, I just love to hear those stories of how we got to where we got. We're going to take our first break. Once again, for listeners, our guest today is Jason Cuthbert, International School Athletic Director at the American School of Warsaw. We're going to take that break, and when we come back, I'm going to have Jason share his journey as an international school AD. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. Maybe it's just a social media post celebrating a big win. Maybe it's a complete newsletter sharing all the great things that your program is doing with your stakeholders, or even more. Go to Gipper.com. Like I say, it's so easy, even I can do it. That's Gipper.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everybody, to our visit with Jason Cuthbert, Certified Master Athletic Administrator and the Director of Athletics at the American School of Warsaw. Jason, you took us on, your journey that led you from Toronto to Mexico, and then that started you on this truly international journey. Share with our listeners, why, you kind of did the why for Mexico, but how did that lead into the next step?
Well, I've been 27 years overseas, seven international schools, and if you would have told me that I would have been on this path 27 years ago, I would have thought you're crazy. I had no idea about international education. It just kind of fell in my lap. My first year was just phenomenal. Again, I played university football down in Torreon, Mexico, and was at a school called Colegio Inglés. And started. I was a kindergarten teacher. Really had to learn by fire, and apply a lot of principles. I was lucky to have a few great teachers that were in my cohort that were really helpful. In the same year, I ended up meeting my wife, who also is from Canada. Met her, and we finished off our contract in Mexico, went back to Canada, and we both took our bachelor's of education and decided to, pursue going back into the international education. And then we were back in Mexico at another school in another area called Tampico. And ironically, we just completed the NIAAA conference, and during those few days, I actually caught up with three students and one mom that were at that school community in Tampico. So it was great. But just to kind of follow, I think one of the things that changed my life in regards to education was ended up getting a job in the Philippines, my wife and I, and I was there as a sixth grade teacher, and I met a gentleman who had an office in the school. His name was Dick Kreitzar. Everyone called him Dr. K, and he really is a legend in international education. He ran what was called IRCOS, East Asia Region of Overseas Schools. Absolute legend, and I was super lucky to meet him. We both had similar upbringings, and we bonded as a friendship. And to be honest, became like a second dad to me, and really taught me some lessons that my own father couldn't. In regards to my father had, a real blue collar past, and I really didn't know much about international education, and really didn't know much about being in other countries. And he took me under his wing, and really challenged me to, not just be satisfied with being a teacher. There's other things out there. And because of him, I really pursued my first master's in education. And um, after I left the Philippines, got my first job as an international athletic director in Dominican Republic, and very proud of everything, because I was the school's first athletic director, and had to implement everything from our team names to trying to create, what we call now invitationals, reaching out to other schools. And this was really before the internet, was heavily prevalent. It was just emails. And so we really, we're really proud of a lot of things of developed very small. We had, volleyball, basketball, and soccer teams, but we're able to grow and compete with other international schools on the island. And Dominican culture, I think at all the stops, it's probably one of the most prideful ones I've ever. Um, Love the Dominican. I had a cousin that was a priest in Bani for 30 years, and was very special to be down there, and still holds a real close spot in my heart. I just came back from Jamaica, and I think just the Caribbean in general is a very special place, and as the people are, and so it was great. But after a number of years in the Dominican, I was very fortunate to get an athletic director job at a small school in Indonesia called Surabaya International School. And to me, I think it was really what really changed me as an athletic director. I had a fantastic boss in Larry Jones, who was kind of a legend, and the guy really kind of set the tone of how things are done in the school. And I really tried to follow his lead, and he was great. He had been in international school for decades, and he hooked me up with a mentor, Bob Connor, who at the time was the athletic director at the International School of Bangkok, very big school, and I was really tapping into to Bob and trying to learn as much as I could from him, and it was great. We did a lot of amazing things. We were a small school, but we were in a big school conference, and we did a lot of things that as a not just as an athletic program, but as a community that we're very proud of. We hosted a swim meet that had 13 schools that we had more people in the swim meet than our school community. So and really everyone pitched in, and it was a phenomenal experience being in Indonesia. And really, I think it set the tone of how I looked at educational based athletics, and just being in a small school, you really get to touch a large group of students from right up to elementary to high school. We were a pre-K to 12th grade school, and it really was a phenomenal time in Surabaya. And I think Larry taught me one of the most important things that um, we all want to work at the bigger schools and well-known schools, but I think he taught me it's not where you work, it's what you do in the place that you work, and what opportunities you create for kids. And I think I learned a lot of great lessons from him. And ironically, he was close friends with my mentor, Dr. K. So I had two of them kind of schooling me all through my time there. When you're a young AD, you're bound to make tons of mistakes. And I think one thing I've been pretty fortunate is that I've made mistakes in every chapter of being an athletic director, but it's not focusing so much on the mistake, but what to do after the mistake. And I've been very lucky to be mentored by some really quality educators.
You mentioned education-based athletics, and I want to ask this question. Growing up in Canada and going to school in let's say the Canadian system, your first job was in Mexico and then international schools. Um, what was your experience in regards to education-based athletics? Because that's something I think, the NIAAA has done a really good job of promoting, and I know you are obviously you're a certified master athletic administrator. Did that feeling about what education-based athletics was, did that develop organically with you? Were you already involved with the NIAAA? Because that was an interesting turn of phrase.
What's interesting is that very organic, and I knew nothing about the NIAAA. Very fortunate that leading into my second master's at Ohio University, I started to learn about the NIAAA. Very good friend of an athletic director at that time. He was at the International School of Brussels, Jason Baston, who also is alumni at Ohio. And Jason's one that really kind of started speaking to me about the NIAAA. And then Bruce, he and another athletic director, Kathy Ong, who's over in the Philippines, great athletic director. They started bringing people over from the NIAAA in the Ear Coast region. They were doing some courses, and I really think that's where the NIAAA grew with international schools. And those, Matt Fleming, Jim Matter, and Chris Mott, they kind of had a dream of, pushing to have international courses developed. And luckily, myself and a few other ADs were asked to be on this international AD committee, which is now part of the NIAAA. But I didn't know anything about the NIAAA, and I'm really fortunate that was able to uh, find the NIAAA through my Ohio University program, and I've been going to the conferences ever since, and they've been an absolute blessing because for a lot of young ADs, you take your job and they give you a set of keys and maybe a whistle, and good luck. No matter where you are, you're really kind of on an island. You and maybe the activities director work together with your staff, but you're always kind of on an island, and I think the best way to learn is from other athletic directors, and if you're willing to, be open-minded, it's a great opportunity to learn.
Yeah, but again, so many key points that you mentioned there and connections. You mentioned Jason Baisden and Kathy Ong, both podcast guests.
Good.
And so it just goes to show, Jason, we only have the best people like you come on the podcast. Let's go and take another break. When we come back, I want you to share how your journey has brought you to your present school, the American School of Warsaw, and also share, some of your best practices. So let's take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to thank our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling or rosters, results. Their student athlete eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com to find out more. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Hey, we're back. Um, we're visiting today with Jason Cuthbert, Certified Master Athletic Administrator. He shared some of his journey so far. Jason, how did you end up at your present school, the American School of Warsaw? And what are some things that you're really proud of at this school?
Well, at the time, before I went to American School of Warsaw. I was at the International School of Beijing, very big school. Very fortunate to work with a great athletic director, activities director there, Simon Parker. And I really had taken that job. It was the assistant activities director, very big school, and I really wanted to use it kind of as a I don't know if it'll be a platform or transition to another job. And um, the American School of Warsaw had opened up. I'd always been interested in that school. And in international schools, a lot of times it's also my wife and I are both kind of a tandem. And my wife's a guidance counselor. There was an opening up for a guidance counselor. And the athletic director at the time, a bit of a legend for sure, Jim Matter. I met Jim my first post in Torreon, Mexico. He was an athletic director at the American School of Torreon 20 some odd years ago. And I did some coaching for Jim. And so Jim and I believe Nick at the American School of Vienna had mentioned it to me. And so I went to my director and I'd asked him, if I could apply. And luckily, I was able to get the job 7 years ago. And it's been a very great and interesting journey, especially, as we were in COVID during that time. Our school had quite a unique experience during COVID. We were one of the only international schools in Europe, and I think maybe in the world, where we kept our doors open. Our director, John Zerflew, really had an ingenious plan of the kids would be tested on a consistent basis. And it was very out of the box thinking, but it was incredible that our kids were able to come each day and, obviously wearing masks, but they were able to kind of have somewhat of a normal experience in a real abnormal time. Along with John Zerflew, Michael Sheehan, Laura Bernstein, Bart Krieger, our admin team at the time, really the whole school just did a phenomenal job of trying to make things as normal for the kids. And that kind of led into the athletic program that we still were able to do practices consistently. Some parents didn't want their kids to be doing that because of the fear of COVID. As we all know, it was a very, very fearful time, but we still had a great number of kids practicing every day, and we weren't able to compete outside of the walls of the school. But we would have what was called Warrior Days, where the kids were playing pretty much intramural games. But we would have dinners for them after, something similar to what would happen in an international tournament. But um, uh, every season we'd give the kids t-shirts for competing, and it was really a unique time. I really had a lot of respect for many of our coaches who did more than they should have. Doing community nights. We had a coach, basketball coach Dave Bernstein. He had a Thursday night community basketball, and my daughter would go, and kids would truly look forward to just going and playing pickup basketball. Our volleyball coach TJ Merritt did the same on Tuesday nights. And it's interesting, we've kind of continued these traditions post COVID because the kids have enjoyed it. We also did Saturday mornings where we'd open up the fitness room and call it open gym, and we continually um, keep doing that post COVID, and kids keep showing up. And I think, the beauty of going back to Steve Shaker Cuevas is, he always gave me an opportunity to play and gave me time. And I feel that's one of the things that we've kind of incorporated at the school in the athletic program is there is a lot of coaches in our community that are willing to do those extra things. And I really speak volumes of our administration during that time of just trying to create such a normal. And I speak also from a parent because my daughter was a high school student at the time that kids were able to play. And my daughter was a senior when we actually kind of came out of COVID. And it's interesting, her basketball team won a league championship or tournament championship, and just to see the reaction of the kids, not just of the win, but just to compete against each other. I think it was a learning experience for everyone, coaches, athletic directors, and kids.
Well, and again, I think you're absolutely right. I think that is probably a very unique response to it. Certainly, every state in the United States had a different response. Um, can you go back and maybe talk about the climate? I can just think a lot of schools, domestic or international, would say, "Oh, we've got to shut down, or we can't do this, or it's gonna, we're gonna put our kids at risk," and just all the negatives. You or your head of school, I'm going to say there's probably a leadership team. You chose to look at it as, hey, a challenge. How can we make this work? This is something it's important. We need to make it work. Can you take us into that mindset of that discussion?
To be honest, I was like, because it was such new territory for everyone, and I can't speak directly for my boss, but he really thought out of the box. It was real ingenious. Um, Not everyone agreed with it, obviously, because it was a different feeling. People wanted to hide. I was all for it. I thought let's try to make things as normal as possible, but it wasn't reckless. It was very well thought out. Our admin team was phenomenal. They did a phenomenal job, and that extends to our health office, our nurses. Um, I can't fully speak. He hooked up with, this was done not just educationally. It was done with a doctor
Right.
in Warsaw that worked, and his team was actually working at the school. But it really was ingenious. And as an athletic director and as a parent, I'm super thankful. It was very stressful at times of just you just never knew what was going to happen. But yeah, I think it's something that our school should be super proud of, and those individuals, not just the athletic or excuse me, the admin team, but the teachers, the coaches. everyone involved in the school, facilities. It was a collective effort, and I know that the kids, speaking to kids that are alumni now, super appreciative of all the hard work that was done to create again something that was normal in a very abnormal and new time.
Oh no, absolutely. Again, hats off to you and your team for doing that. Jason, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you and add you to their network?
I'm on LinkedIn, and if they want to contact me through my email, I'm at jcuthbert@aswarsaw.org. Happy to help any new athletic director. I feel like our profession really, whether you're new or old or mid, it's a real learning journey that the more we learn from each other. And I honestly think that's the beauty of the NIAAA conferences. And in our conferences, we meet twice a year in a specific location, and I think it's super important that you can sit down and break bread and talk with other athletic directors. I'm extremely fortunate when I go to the NIAAA. I have some athletic director friends that are from the U.S., most notably from Florida, and I really every year I look forward to just catching up and give shout out to Bobby Biaggi and Jim Priest. I look forward every year to catching up with both those guys. And in Indonesia they have a saying: "Same, same, different, different." And even though they're in America, it's interesting just to touch base of what they're going through and what I'm going through as an international AD. So thank goodness for conferences like that.
And speaking of the NIAAA, Jason's information is in the NIAAA membership portal for all of our NIAAA members. We're going to take another break, but we are coming back, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and check out their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag a little bit about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown's the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And whether it's more support, more security, or more customization, Hometown is here to help you make the best online ticketing solution. That's hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also earning 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. The website is ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Check it out today. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Speaking of Ohio University, we're very proud to have Ohio University as one of our podcast sponsors. And you hear me mention all the time. My assistant athletic director got his master's from Ohio University, and it really was a great experience for him and for thousands of others, including our guest, Jason Cuthbert. So, Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot. There's a lot of great programs out there that offer, a master's in athletic administration. What was it about the Ohio University program that attracted you, and what was your experience like?
Well, interesting enough, I was speaking with Jason Basin. Jason and I touched base, talked about our job, and he was actually in the middle of the program and talking about it. And so after I, finished speaking with him, I went online and really was attracted of all the things. Again, I didn't know much about the NIAAA, but learning about it, I think that component with the NIAAA courses was one of the things that led me to it. And just some of the comments that Jason made, applied, was it fortunate enough to get in. Aaron Wright, who runs the program, great guy. Scott Smith as well. Just the cohort, working with cohort and working with different athletic directors. Again, we're really the only kind of person who does our job in the school, and I think the cohort component was really an interesting and great way to kind of interact with athletic directors that were at all different levels. And truthfully, I was an athlete, I'd probably had 10 years under my belt, and I always felt like there's always more to learn. And so when I started taking the courses, I was working in Beijing, China at the time. So I can tell you when we had our cohort meetings, it was some interesting times in regards to early in the morning. I had a young family at the time. So it was very maintainable. Even in a busy schedule, you had some things that you had to allot some time every week. But I really enjoyed the cohort conversations, and there, I'm not sure if they still do it, but halfway through you go to Ohio University for a few days, and I thought that was invaluable of just connecting with the professors, connecting with people who were in my cohort, and I think there was two other cohorts. You really got to meet a lot of people. Some of those classmates and people from the other cohorts I still see at the NIAAA conferences. I've met tons of alumni. I really feel like it's a family type. I met Becky Moran. I know she was a alumni. Jason Baston, to name a few that I still keep in contact, or quick hellos at conferences. And those are the people that you can tell that wanted to be better as athletic directors. And I think it's like I said, the journey as an AD, you're always learning, you're always trying to get better. And I think the Ohio program can really offer that. I recommend it to any young athletic directors. Again, it's very maintainable. Professors are there to really help you and guide you, and also make you think about different components of what's in the job.
We talk all the time about the importance of networking in our profession and building that network. And that's one of the things that I've heard again and again from graduates of the Ohio University program is that it's intentional. They build that network throughout the coursework. Um, Talking about the courses, we've already talked about it. You mentioned, this idea of education-based athletics, and what that philosophy is, how it's acted out. You kind of came to that organically as you started taking the courses that, helped you, earn your CAA. Was there kind of a moment there where you said, "Hey, this is, what I believe. This is pretty cool stuff." Do you remember anything like that?
I think there was a relationship course, and just dealing with the different personalities in the job. And I think that's really so important in the day to day of the people that you work with in regards to coaches, facilities, cafeteria, cleaning staff, and I just think there was a lot of courses. Again, I was one of the first international athletic directors in the program. I know there's been many more after me, but it was interesting, kind of navigating what was from the American perspective in regards to athletic directors to what was in my job. But that one of the relationship component was profound, because that's what you deal with day to day. And I think one of the great things with Ohio University is, especially with Aaron and Scott Smith, they were very open to learning about the international education athletic directors. And I think to this day, that's why I'm very close with both those gentlemen. And I think probably Jason Basin would probably say the same, is that they were very open to kind of learning our world as well about, and I know there's been the activities director at the American International School of Bucharest, who's in our conference. He's also an alumni, and I think that's a very strong point of the program. Very, very open to everyone, whether you're a small school AD, for at a Christian school, big school, urban school, a rural school. One of the things that was great about the cohort is that I think everyone experiencing the program, but really from different avenues and different schools. So I was very fortunate, and again, it really helped me lead more to learning about the NIAAA, which it's been profound to help me as an athletic administrator.
Well, and let's go and talk real quick, NIAAA. Now you're part of the national faculty, the international faculty, teaching those courses. What's an experience from that you can share with our listeners? And now I know I'm ambushing you here.
Yeah, well, I honestly say I think it was my first, and actually I think not to correct you live, but I think the first time I met you was in Florida, but it was at the national conference, but it was in Florida, and we did take some courses, and that's where I met you. It was over 10 years ago, and but in that course, or in that conference, Jim Matter, Chris Mott, and Matt Fleming, they had this goal and dream of creating international courses. And I remember Bruce, who was the head of NIAAA at the time, uh, him and Phil Risen were really open to to developing these. And uh, correct me if I'm wrong with these people, but it was Chris Bishop, myself, Kathy Ong, Juan Santa Maria, Matt Fleming again, Chris Mott, and Jim Matter. And they flew us to Indianapolis and started creating courses. And now we've created an exam for international ADs. And to be honest, very proud of being part of that because, like I said, many of us when we started this profession, they just gave us a set of keys and we were on our own. And I've learned a ton from all those individuals that I said I've learned a lot. And there's more ADs that have been added to the mix. Nick DeForest and Clau Area, and one of the great things is they have there's podcasts now out. The Globetrotting ADs they're giving kind of a window similar to what you're doing of what athletic directors are doing international. And to then at AAA, to their credit, they're very open and I really love going and being part of the meetings and very one of the most proud things I've done professionally is trying to create and I present every year. I've done 901, 902, 903, and I find every time that I present, I learn from people who I'm presenting to, and I think that is the beauty of the NIAAA conferences is that you learn from others, and I think that's what makes us that's what makes an athletic director that the more you learn, the better you're going to become. And I think that's what has been really great about the international committee. And kudos again to those three guys. I call them the three amigos that had a dream and again thought out of the box and we are where we are now. And there's a lot of athletic directors who have gotten the CIAA, and they're probably better athletic directors because of it. So again, I'm really proud, and all those athletic directors that I had a chance to work with, I've learned a great deal from all of them.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think you are right also on it was the national conference, where we first met,
Was I'm not
and
I didn't mean
no,
to.
no, no. I'm glad. Yeah, I knew it was Florida, but and there were a number of Canadian ADs that had come down and had taken those courses. Yeah. Oh boy, that's a great trip down memory lane.
I actually think you were proctoring and helping with the CAA test.
The exam. Yeah. Yeah.
The exam, yep. And for me, even though I had taken some courses, I was a little worried about some of the law questions. And you guys did a great job of the tutorial. And I remember taking the course with a couple Florida ADs and very fortunate to pass. And then it just kind of led me to working on my CMAA. So it's and again, I'm really proud with the CIA exam that it really gives kind of a focus for international athletic directors to come. And huge shout out to Juan Santa Maria that this year they did a few. He translated some of the exam in Spanish, and I know that creates even more opportunities for athletic directors in Latin America to have an opportunity to try to get their CIA.
No, no. Again, incredible work, with the organization and also the national, international reach. Great stuff. Well, Jason, this has been very cool reconnecting with you. I know we chatted briefly this year in Austin, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you already demonstrated you know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from athletic surveys, and when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we return, we're going to see what Jason Cuthbert puts into his new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and hopefully address them. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your athletic program. And having that kind of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or student athlete, or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Jason Cuthbert. He's a certified master athletic administrator, certified international athletic administrator, also the director of athletics at the American School of Warsaw. Has a tremendous background as an administrator, as a leader, as a coach. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new AD on their very first job. But I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Jason, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I think number one should be you should be kid centric, and the kids are it should never be about you. It should be about kids, people in your program, and that it's what we do. It's the most important thing is that your love and what kids are doing in your program, and also I think for also the people in your program. And that's not just coaches. I think that's people that in international education we have so many people that are important. Our facilities, our cleaning staff, our purchasing staff, our cafeteria staff. And when we host a tournament, it really is a we type thing. But I think the basis and foundation of why and what you're doing, it should be all about the kids and their experience. And kids will know that if you're into it, that. And I think that's number one. Focus on the kids and their development and what's going on with them in your program. I think number two, I had I'm very fortunate. I worked for 13 summers for Morgan Wooten, Hall of Fame basketball coach, and his motto was, this guy had unbelievable energy, both him and his son Joe, and he always would say, nothing great happens without enthusiasm. And I truly believe that, in your program that if you're just doing it day to day, that's what's you're not gonna your ship's not gonna sail. And I think it's super important of focusing on character and focusing on what enthusiasm will do in your program. And I've never really been a rah-rah guy, but I really believe that we at times in programs tend to listen to all the negative stuff that kid sportsmanship or coaches sportsmanship, or I think turning it around and focusing on the positive of what kids are experiencing and what kids are doing not only in athletics but what they ultimately will do in life, learning from athletics. So the more we can take things that we see that are positive in regards to character and sportsmanship and focus on those as much as we hear about the negative things. I think that's super important to try to always look on the positive and bring enthusiasm every day that not only to your kids but your coaches and your community. And I think like the third would be again something from Morgan Wooten, be an educational thief. No matter if you're 1 or 5 or 20 years in the job, you should never stop taking from others. Again, I think that's what really important about going to athletic director meetings in international. We have again conference meetings, and then the NIAAA conference. Just valuable is sitting and listening to what other people are doing. And, it's not necessarily, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat and you can't imitate somebody, but there's always great ways to look at what other people are doing and bringing them back to your community and putting it in what you do, in your style. And I think, every time I go to a tournament or I'm at somebody else's school, I'm always taking photos of what's on their walls, how they run their tournament. And I really think that, don't be prideful. There's always people to learn from. And again, names I mentioned before in our business, Kathy Young, Juan Santa Maria, to name a few. There's tons I could name. It every time I meet with them, it's more about listening to what they're doing or just listening to them that gives me opportunities to get better. And I think that's really important. And if I could say a fourth to kind of be more off the organic path, but learn your policies, get with people that, whether it be your chief financial officer to work with budgets. I think one of the things that has been difficult from an international school perspective is coming out of COVID, prices have gone up for gas, buses, hotels. And, a lot of us, our budgets haven't gotten bigger, but a lot of the costs have gotten bigger. So if you're meeting with not only your chief financial officer, but also with people that are in purchasing to find ways to try to at least show that you're working with your budget. And I think also learning policy, coming into a school and learning a bit about what goes on in the school. And sometimes as athletic directors, when we're young or even when we take a new job, we want to change everything so quickly, and that doesn't always work. And I'm a pure testament of learning that the hard way. But it comes from a good place. But sometimes you just have to sit back and listen, watch, and learn. But I guess that would be my four. And I mean, there could be many more, but those are the ones that just come to my head. And I really think number one, it really is about the kids. We get in this business, whether in education overall, we get into to do things with kids. And I know there's been a lot of people in my life that, took the time to help me. And I think that's what I've tried to strive in my career.
You're absolutely right. I love all of them. And again, that basic core value of, why are you an AD? Why are you a coach? Well, you got to love kids. You got to love to, and you've addressed it multiple times. You had great coaches growing up, and it's a way of giving back. Great stuff. And then you also leaned on the practical. Know your stinking policies. Know the rules of your school, of your league, of your district. Great stuff. Great tools. Jason, thanks again for taking a little bit of time of your holiday to share with our listeners. One more time, if those listeners want to reach out and connect with you, pick your brain a little bit more, how do they get a hold of Jason Cuthbert?
Again, you can get a hold of me on LinkedIn. I'm under Jason Luke Cuthbert. I have my pictures up there. I think I'm the only Jason Luke Cuthbert on LinkedIn. And again, if you want to reach out via email, jcuthbert@aswarsaw.org. I'd be happy to speak with anyone, and really appreciate you having me on. Again, I'm not the biggest podcast guy, and I appreciate you inviting me. I'm very thankful.
No, hey, we should have had you on a long time ago, but I'm excited to kick off a whole new year with Jason. Jason, thanks again. All the best in the coming new year, and hopefully it's not going to be all the way until the next NIAAA conference in Tampa that we'll be able to connect and maybe share a beverage.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
All right, for our listeners, we appreciate you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, trying to share stories and best practices. So come back and join us again on the next Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.